Hello everyone, welcome back to Edubbey Global Solution. In our previous class, we discussed what fiscal policy is. Now today we'll be discussing monetary and supply side policy. Now moving to our next slide, we have what money supply and monetary policy is. What do we mean by money supply? Money supply is the total value of money available in an economic at a point of time or at a period of time. Why monetary policy is a government policy used to control what money supply, that is the availability and cost of money in an economy in order to attain growth and stability. Now here, what policy the government used to control money supply? We have monetary supply. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we just have one past question here related to the definition of money supply. Of course, according to our definition, we said money supply is total money available within an economy at a point in time. Now, let us check out the options here. The total quantity of money available within the economy, the total quantity of foreign currency available within the economy, the total quality of money issued by the central bank, or the total quantity of money within commercial bank. Of course, you're supposed to know the answer to be the total quantity of money available within the economy. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we now have the monetary policy measure. As we have the fiscal policy measure to be what? To be taxes and spending. Don't forget, here we now have the policy measure at the division on the money supply, the rate of interest, and also the exchange rate. Here we are just talking about the interest and money supply. That is the monetary policy measure. Now we have the change in money supply, that is the way of increasing money supply is creating more money by what? By central bank and also buying government bonds. And we also have the change in the rate of interest. Of course, interest rate is the what? Is the cost of borrowing money, and the main monetary policy measure is known as the change in interest rate. We also have the changes in the exchange rate, that is the change in which the rate at which one currency will be exchanged for another. Here now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we still have past question. What is the monetary policy measure? I just said this. Now we have two monetary policy measure. We have the interest rate and we have the money supply. Here we have increasing taxation. Is that so? Of course, no. We have increasing interest rate, reducing the power of trade union, selling state-owned enterprise. Of course, it is increasing interest rate. That is our monetary policy measure. Now we move to the next slide. We also have one past question here related to what? Related to the monetary policy. In the country, there is an increase in the rate of interest to prevent what? To prevent inflation, that is the general rise in the price level of goods. Which type of macroeconomic policy is this? When there is an increase in the rate of interest, what type of macroeconomic policy what type of macroeconomic is that should be? Now it should be what? Monetary policy, because we are dealing with the rate of interest and money supply in monetary policy. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we now have the effect of monetary policy on macroeconomic aim. That is, as we have the effect of fiscal policy on government aims, we also have the effect of monetary policy on government aims also. Now, monetary policy is used to increase the aggregate demand by using what? Expansionary and contractionary monetary policy. Remember, we have expansionary and contractionary fiscal policy also in our previous class. Now let us check what contractionary and expansionary monetary policy is talking about. Now, expansionary monetary policy is where the government increases the money supply, that is the money available within an economy. By cutting interest rate design in order to increase the aggregate demand. Remember when we have expansionary fiscal policy, what government is cutting is what? Just the tax, because we are dealing with taxes and what are spending in government fiscal policy. And we also have the contractionary monetary policy, that is where government decreases money supply by increasing the rate of interest designed to reduce the aggregate what? Aggregate demand. And we have the contractionary monetary policy to reduce what? To reduce inflation, while expansionary monetary increase what? Economic growth and also a rise in employment. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we also have one past question. A government wishes to pursue an expansionary monetary policy. What should it do? Now, lower interest rates, discourage bank lending, give subsidies to firm, or lower income tax. Don't forget, our monetary policy measure is just what? The interest rate and the money supply. And when we are pursuing an expansionary monetary policy, we lower our what? Our interest rate. That's our correct answer. Now let us move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we now have what supply side policy is. What do we mean by supply side policy? Of course, supply side policy are also a microeconomic policy aims at what? At increasing supply and productivity in the economy to enable long-term economic growth. Now here we have one past question under it. Which statement about supply side policy is correct? Let us check out the options. It aims to increase the productive potential of the economy. It involves changes in the equilibrium foreign exchange rate. It involves changes in the rate of interest, or it aims to increase total demand in the economy. Of course, according to our definition, supply side policy aims at increasing supply and productivity in the economy. So our answer is it aims to increase the productive potential of the economy. Now let us move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we now have the supply side policy measures. Now we have the possible supply side policy measures to include what? Education and training. Of course, investing in education and skill training will improve the quality and quantity of labor, which also leads to an increase in productivity. We also have labor market reform. Of course, labor market reform are designed to make labor market work more efficiently. We also have lower direct taxes. Of course, cutting tax will increase people's willingness to work more and also increase the supply in the economy. We also have deregulation. Of course, easing law required to start up a business so that they can operate and also produce more output. And we also have privatization. Of course, transferring some public operations to private ownership will also increase efficiency and also increase what? Our output. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we have past question here also. A government uses the different supply side policy measures to improve economic performance. Of course, we have discussed that. Which policy measure will not satisfy one of the government's macroeconomic aim? Now let us check out the options here. Retraining redundant workers with lower employment. Of course, we have training as part of our supply side policy measure. Changing the tax system, which leads to more tax evasion. That should not be our answer. That should not be one of our supply side policy measure, but let's check the options out. Encouraging foreign investment, which improve the balance of payment. Privatizing state industry, which increases economic growth. Of course, our answer is change the tax system, which leads to more tax evasion. That should not be our supply side policy. Now we move to the next slide. Now here we now have the effects of supply side policy on macroeconomic aim. Again, now we have supply side policy have the direct effect of increasing economic growth as the productive capacity of the economy is realized. Now we also have supply side policy can also create more job opportunities and help reduce unemployment. Of course, when there is an increase in productivity, there will also be increase in labor, which creates more employment. Now trade reform will also enable it to improve its balance of payment, that is our import and export. And we also have privatization also reduce government intervention in the economy, but it will lead to what? Market failure, in which government intervention will be what? Minimal. Now we move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we also have past question here. A government introduces a series of economic measures. What is a supply side policy measure? We have discussed this, but let us check our options. Building more available homes to improve labor mobility, controlling consumer spending to reduce inflation, lowering interest rates to encourage purchase and expensive goods, raising pensions to help retired people pay their fair bill. What do you think can be our supply side policy measure here? Of course, it is building more available homes to improve labor mobility. We move to the next slide. Moving to the next slide, we also have one past question related to supply side policy here. What do you think can be the aim of supply side policy? According to our definition, let us check the options out. Increasing economic growth by raising productivity, reducing the government budget deficit by increasing taxation, reducing the money supply by increasing the rate of interest, increase the balance of payments surplus by restricting free trade. What do you think can be the aim of supply side policy? Of course, it is the increased economic growth by raising productivity. This will be the end of the class. Stay tuned to our website www.edubbey.com. See you in the next class.